Hey guys, Rob with ADV Pulse, and we're here in Portugal for the press intro of the Triumph Scrambler 1200, brand new for 2019. So this is the first serious off-road Scrambler to come to market. Previously, Scrambler bikes have been a bit more of an on-road oriented bike. So it's a very exciting bike for the adventure market. It's getting a lot of people interested. They've given it a ton of suspension travel. It has the classic styling, and it also has the off-road capability, and it's also fully modern. These bikes come in two different flavors. You've got the XC, which is a little more road oriented, and the XE, which is the extreme, the more off-road oriented version. The XC version comes with a few additional upgrades for off-road, like the handlebars are a little bit longer and taller with bar risers. It's also got an extra 2 inches of suspension travel, and also there's the IMU, so it has lean sensitive ABS and traction control. So this is a little bit more premium version as well as the more off-road version. So just some of the general impressions after riding these bikes for the last 2 days. What you have is a bike that is extremely capable for a scrambler, and it's also very good for an ADV bike when it comes to the off-road performance. It has a little lower tank, low seat, so everything is sort of lower down. The centralized mass really helps out in terms of making it not so top heavy. So it's much more controllable than some of the other ADV bikes that are in this weight category that have a little higher tank and a little more unwieldy once you get them off camber. The bike is very tractable because the power that it makes is really low down in the RPM range. It's got a lot of grunt. It's more of a long stroke motor where it makes its power right after 2,000 RPMs and it cuts out at about 7,000 RPMs at the red line. So other adventure bikes, you're revving up to 8,000, 9,000 RPMs with some of these twins because they have a much higher tuned motor. This thing works really well off-road because you never really have to be worrying about what gear you're in. It's always got the power. It's a little punchy at first and you got to get used to it, but once you get a feel for it, you realize that you're not going to lose traction. Even with traction control off, these things just grip, and they really get you in that off-road mode where you can push these bikes to the limit, even though it is a little bit on the big side for some of the Scramblers out there. May be a little bit smaller than this bike. In terms of the capability, the XE has the extra suspension travel, and it's pretty amazing. It's got 9.8 inches of travel, which is way above and beyond most adventure bikes in the category. It doesn't feel very wallowy like you might expect with that much suspension travel. It's pretty firm. They put a progressive suspension on it, so it goes over the bumps very well, like the smaller bumps, and then once it gets into the bigger bumps, it gets stiffened up. This one just has 2 inches left to travel, but it actually did much better than I expected. You could push this bike just as hard most of the time. It's just, if you're gonna start jumping or getting the wheels off the ground, this is the one you wanna be on. In terms of handling, both these bikes are really made for the open desert, more high speed, flowing type of terrain, and sort of the Scrambler style of riding where you sit down and put your leg out. So they're great for that kind of riding. We took these bikes on a motocross track, and it was pretty interesting just to see how a bike like this, it wasn't designed for that kind of terrain, could do what it could do. And you could go pretty good around the turns, but you do start to feel the weight a little bit once you start to get into the tighter technical terrain. But these are the kind of bikes you're just gonna go ride hard out in Baja. Fantastic bikes, and they're just a lot of fun to ride. So we also rode them on the street today for a full day, and it rained most of the day, but it did clear up later in the day. What we learned is the electronics that these bikes come with work very well, and on these slick roads with that lean angle sensitive ABS, lean angle sensitive traction control on this XE, you just don't have to worry about it as much, and the electronics just take over and do what they need to do to keep you safe. But once the day cleared up, we had a great time on those roads and just, lean these bikes over. Surprisingly, the XE, actually, I liked it a little bit better on the street just because it's a little higher up. By raising it up, you also raise the pegs up. So you can kind of sit down and, just kind of cruise through your turns. You don't have to worry about scraping pegs at all. On this one, you start having to hang off a little bit more to make sure you're not going to scrape those pegs. But both bikes are really good on the street, really good in the twisty roads. Just the grip that you feel, even with the 21-inch front, it's got a 17-inch rear. They feel very good just on those windy roads. Other than that, only other drawback that you have with this style of bike, it's nothing against this bike, it's just a style of bike. With the Scrambler, you don't have a windscreen. So once we started getting on the highway going about 65 miles an hour, you definitely feel that wind pushing on your chest. And I can imagine if you're going to use this as an adventure bike, you're going to want to get the aftermarket or accessory windscreen on this bike so that you can travel further. Also, you've got this big high pipe, which looks really cool, but it does get hot on your leg. Today was pretty cold and was a nice thing to have, but on a hot day, if you're trying to go through traffic in really slow speed type of riding, you may notice that pipe gets pretty hot on your leg. Other than that, you've got this TFT screen that just packs a ton of technology into a small little screen that doesn't take up a lot of space and looks really streamlined with the design of the bike. But it's able to show all the different rider modes. You have all the different ABS and traction control settings that you can change. It's just an incredible system. And they've also got a lot of things coming down the pipe in terms of GoPro integration, cell phone integration, all this Bluetooth integration that is really taking it to the next level of technology for motorcycles. And one of the other differences, the XE has 6 rider modes, and it has the Off-Road Pro setting. That allows you to turn off traction control and ABS off completely, front and rear. So when you put it in Off-Road Pro, you've got no electronic intervention at all, and it just lets you use your own skill to control the bike. So these two bikes have a lot of capability both on and off-road. If you think that your riding style is going to be more street oriented with some light off-road travel, then you're probably going to want to go with the XC. If you really want to go out there and bomb those desert roads and catch some air, then the XE is the bike to get. And also keep an eye out for our full review on advpulse.com. And thank you for watching.